Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Apples and Ginos Fantasy Hockey Podcast. My name is Nate Groot Niblink. I'm the creator of Apples and Ginos, originator of the Zero G Draft Strategy. And in this podcast, Blake and I are going to talk about the biggest hot shots and have nots of the last couple weeks and play a little Would You Rather. Let's get it. And of course, I have your friend and my best friend, my main man and biggest fan, Blake Creamer. Blake, how are you feeling tonight?
Absolutely, buddy. I was a fan before I became a podcast host, and that never changed. So, buddy, you're a legend. Um, yeah, things are going good. It's been a great fantasy week. I'm enjoying some success this week, and it's nice to get the team rolling before we go into playoffs here. So I feel like I'm in a decent spot. I'm happy about that. I was just watching the intro to the Apples and Ginos podcast here on YouTube, and we got a new McDavid goal that we could throw in here. You see this thing that he did the
Yeah.
other night? What the hell is this man eating? And can I have some? You know what I mean? Because he just who was that? Labushkin? Like he just threw him to the side and just got the biz. The guy's incredible, man. We have so many amazing hockey players out there. McKinnon is popping the hell off. Makar, Wyatt Johnston, just everybody's going nuts. I don't know what's going on with you, man. How's your week going?
My week's going not too bad. I think Wyatt Johnston will thank you later, but his contract negotiations are up, so you probably don't have to mention him in the same sentence as McKinnon, McDavid, and McCarr. But
All right, now it's unnecessary, but all right, let's move on. All right, I was flustered. Okay.
I'm here for it. You know, I love some Wyatt Johnston love on the program. But yeah, it's going all right. One tough loss I'm taking right now that throws my buy situation into doubt. But yeah, I'm trying to take that in stride, trying to keep moving forward, keep a positive attitude for the people. But I think rather than dwell on that, I'd rather just get into some newsies. Let's do it. All right, top of the list. Rupe Hintz took a puck to the face being evaluated. He missed the game here Sunday. The Stars don't actually play again until next Friday, so he's got some time to recover. There's a concern, obviously, like any kind of puck to the face. You're thinking fracture, break some bones, orbital bones. I think like
Yeah.
around the eye is really bad. Usually, like it takes. Usually, it's a longer timeline there. They're more worried about re-injury or causing problems if you were to get hit there. Sounds like he's dodged that bullet, but definitely got to keep an eye out for updates. They're obviously playing it a little close to the chest here. They don't want to. They don't want to, send some bad messages out there and have some people targeting his face. Next up, we have Torts doing Torts things. Matvey Michkov was benched in Philadelphia's game. This could be rough moving forward. Torts has to develop Michkov the right way. You wouldn't want a guy who has scored, what is it? He scored 13 points in the last 10 games. You wouldn't want that guy out there too much, enjoying himself too much, or getting too confident. So you got to sit him on the bench every once in a while, make sure he knows that what he's doing is unacceptable. Stop scoring points. We're trying to lose here. Next up, Connor Ingram has entered the NHLPA Player Assistance Program, obviously out indefinitely there. Yeah, he's been very open about it being a tough year for him. His mother passed away late last year. And so it sounds like he just needs to take some time away from the game. And thankfully, there's a situation where he's able to do that. So I hope he gets all the help he needs and he's able to come back and, yeah, be a good part of the NHL. An easy guy to root for sure. Quinn Hughes missed the game here on Sunday as well. Yeah, the more games Quinn Hughes continues to miss, the value of Philip Hronek continues to rise. And yeah, as we mentioned before, if Vancouver does start to find themselves on the wrong side of the playoffs here and feel like it's slipping away from them, more teams climbing, then yeah, at some point they may just shut Quinn Hughes down. That's not what I want. That's not what anybody wants for fantasy, anybody who rosters him, but it is starting to feel like more and more of a real possibility the longer this goes on. Victor Hedman was a late scratch in the last game, still considered day to day with the lower body injury. Darren Radish gets top power play in his stead. Marchand, it came out that apparently it's only like 2 weeks that he's expected to miss. That kind of goes against everything else we had heard. Like even Friedman on 32 Thoughts after the trade deadline was thinking that would be longer, potentially going into playoffs. But yeah, if that holds true, then yeah, you might be looking at week 23 for fantasy purposes here. So keep an eye out for that. If somebody had preemptively dropped him or something in your leagues, then you might want to take a look and see if Marchand is out there. And in the island, Semyon Varlamov confirmed to miss rest of the regular season. That only really matters if you roster Ilya Sorokin, and you can continue to expect him to play pretty much every single game for the Islanders, unless it's a back-to-back. And then Matt Barzal was called questionable to return for the regular season. So probably this only matters if you're playing that week 25 right up till the end of the regular season. You may get some games out of Matt Barzal there, but yeah, that's probably about as good as it's going to get. Anything from here that you really want to harp in on, Blake?
The Marchand thing's pretty interesting. Yeah, that was Bill
Yeah.
Zito that said that. So I've got him in two spots and it stinks. But yeah, if he's going to be back potentially even for week 24, he's worth the hold, right? Obviously, Marchand, I think when he's healthy, he's going to, there's a good chance he gets top power play there in Florida, right? They got
Yeah.
Verhage on the second. I'm sure they bounce Samoskevich down there and say, Marchand, here's the keys, buddy, get out there and do rat things.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a good chance that he does get some power play one time at some point anyway. Maybe not right away, but definitely a good chance with the injury to Matt Kachuk there. All right, let's wrap that up. Let's move over and get into the hot shots. Off the top, obviously, we got to talk about Steven Stamkos, who was in the have-nots last week. This week, he's in the hot shots because all he's done over the last 3 games is throw up 4 goals and 4 assists for 8 points, including a 4-shot game and a 7-shot game in 21 minutes and 43 seconds against Chicago here on Saturday. Yeah, so I guess we're all the way back with Steven Stamkos. If you go over the last 5 games, 30th in shots per 60, 95th individual scoring chances for per 60, 48th Corsi for per 60, and 52nd in on ice scoring chances for per 60. What do we make of this, Blake? Like, yeah, how do you handcuff this going forward? He's playing with in this last game against Chicago with O'Reilly and Evangelista, and obviously on the top power play, but yeah, is Steven Stamkos going to, pop out for the rest of the season now? Nashville does have a good playoff schedule.
I'll tell you what he's done. He basically went out and ate, a bunch of beans, a broccoli and cabbage salad, and he's tooting right in my face. Okay, buddy. Oh, damn, that stinks. Um, I had Stamkos in one spot, and after last week, yeah, we went back and forth, and I really thought too. I'm like, you know what? If you need to drop him, go ahead and drop him. In that one league where I had him, I'm kind of fighting for a playoff spot there, so I dropped him, and of course, then he does this. So that's the thing when you drop a good player like this or a player with this kind of caliber. This is always a potential. And, the metrics with Nashville, the expected goals for and expected goals against, they're kind of middle of the pack. They're not terrible, but the conversion is terrible, and the goaltending has been terrible. So they're showing out much worse than they probably should, right? So that should have always come back up. I've talked about Philip Forsberg and I threw Steven Stamkos in there at a time, but yeah, this is good stuff. I mean, after you pop a hattie, that sounds weird. Pop a hattie. After you do that, like your confidence is pretty high. Nashville, they know the season was a super bust, and I think they might be a little looser because of it. When you have things like what Stamkos did there, and Ryan O'Reilly's playing really well, I think you can kind of be a little lighter and get to the end of the season feeling good about yourself and prepare for next year. So, all that said, I do think that Stamkos will probably be a big part of what's going on there rest of season. He's he just got a hattie. It's pretty nice. So I don't know. I'm rambling on here, but all that to say, I think Stamkos is probably like a 60 to 70 point player moving forward. And if he's on your waiver, pick him up.
Yeah, that was going to be the next question, right? Like, do you go out and add him right away? If you're looking ahead this upcoming week, Nashville has 3 games played, only one off night. It's not the best schedule, especially in a week where there are a lot of good schedules. Then the first week of a lot of people's playoffs, week 22, they play 4 games, only one off night there, then 3 games, 0 off nights, then 4 games, 2 off nights in a lot of people's fantasy finals for the week 24. And then in week 25, 5 games, 2 off nights, kind of nondescript final week there. Yeah, I think it's right. He's getting a lot of minutes. He's popping off, and they decided that he was the guy that they needed on the ice. 21 minutes goes to
Yep.
show, and it's hard to disagree. So I think that if if he just starts feeling confident, and you never know the entire story. It's very possible he dealt with some minor injury at some point, and he's only really now starting to feel better. That's always within the range of possibilities as well. I don't want to discount that with a player with the track record of Steven Stamkos either, right? So,
Yep.
yeah, I would still take a look, like make sure that he's actually somebody that you're going to play over the guys who are playing on the heavy nights for you. But if that's true, I think there is probably some value here, especially if you're needing someone for that week 22 first week of the playoffs as well. All right, let's keep rolling. Let's talk about Ryan Donato, Blake's favorite player. Ryan Donato also has 4 goals, 4 assists, 8 points in his last 5 games, almost 19 minutes a night, 190th in shots per 60, 241st individual scoring chances, 4 per 60, 308 Corsi 4 per 60, 218, and on ice scoring chances, 4 per 60. He can't keep getting away with this, Blake. What do you think's going to happen from here on out for Ryan Donato?
I love it. And I've said this before, but I love that he was able to stay in Chicago just for fantasy purposes. We know what we have here. He's cooking with his line mates, which is Toivo Teravainen and Ilya Mikheyev. Who can say that? Hey, everybody, I'm cooking with Toivo Teravainen and Ilya Mikheyev. Sounds like the worst show I've ever seen on the Food Network. But yeah, it's great. I feel like he's really getting prioritized here. They like what he's been doing. And just digging in on some of his metrics here, like some of the micro stats, this guy he's a really good shooter. That's what he does. In terms of facilitating offense, that's not really his bag. But the good thing is he's got Toivo Teravainen out on his line, and this guy's a great facilitator in his own right. So I think they've found something there with that duo, and Makhayev's kind of bringing that north-south speed, the forechecking, all that stuff. So all that to say, I think what Donato's doing is probably sustainable. Maybe not 8 points in 5 games sustainable, but I think around point per game, maybe 70. That sounds crazy. God, no, I'll go 65 to 70 points, Ryan Donato pace rest of season. And I like it. Yeah, he's feeling it. He's feeling his plums, isn't he, Nate?
Uh, I don't know what he does in his spare
I
time,
thought I
but
saw
it
that.
does.
It was a replay. I don't know.
Okay.
We'll link the video there later.
Okay. I don't know if we should do that. We might get
That's
taken down on YouTube,
private.
but
Yeah, private time
yeah.
for him. Okay.
Yeah, it is pretty interesting what he's been able to put out there. Also on the top power play, which is obviously not as lucrative in Chicago as it is in some other places, but it still obviously provides him some floor there for point production as well. He does have like some pretty solid markers of unsustainability. He's usually not a very efficient shooter in this series at 16.5%.
Mhm.
On ice shooting percentage up at 14.8%, which seems pretty insane for a team like Chicago. But that being said, if you're looking at those season long numbers, those are across an average time on ice of 15 and a half minutes. And we just said he's up around 19 minutes a night right now. So huge increase in average time on ice over the season long numbers. I tend to agree. I think, yeah, this 30 goal, 64-point pace, like that feels ish in the range. You might take the under just because we've never seen it from Donato, but it also wouldn't surprise me if he just kind of kept up a pretty robust pace here and they just continued to lean on him because really, what other option do they have in Chicago? Yeah, I'm kind of in on it, and obviously Chicago does have that pretty nice playoff schedule here as well. So if you've got him, even if you went cold over the next week, like if he scores 0 points this week, 3 game week for Chicago, I'm still holding him. 4 games, 1 off night in week 22, 3 games, 3 off nights week 23, 3 games, 3 off nights week 24. That's the kind of off nights that you can't really replace, and whatever he's getting you is going straight to your bottom line, and with all those off nights. So love that for him. Next up, JJ Paterka did not get dealt by Kevin Adams at the deadline here. Thankfully, he's got 2 goals, 5 assists, 7 points in his last 5, 21 minutes a night. They are playing the hell out of this guy. 45th in shots per 60, 311th in individual scoring chances for per 60, though. 47th in on ice Corsi for per 60, 128 in on ice scoring chances for per 60, now on a 26 goal, 70 point pace on the season. And that's with a 57% IPP, but a 14.7% on ice shooting percentage. I'm inclined to believe that that probably just kind of washes out, and this is kind of who he is. Like, even if they score a few less goals with him on the ice, that he should probably factor into a few more of them, and that kind of washes itself out. Especially if he's going to get 21 minutes a night for the rest of the season here. Yeah, it seems like a really good spot for Peterka. Obviously, Jason Zucker has been out. Maybe he comes back and they rejig the lines a little bit here or there. Actually, in the last game, the first game for Josh Norris in town, they went with Tuck, Thompson, Norris as a quote unquote top line, and Peterka was down with McLeod and Quinn, which isn't great. So maybe it's actually a better thing if Zucker comes back. Who knows? Could be better line mates for Peterka. What's your temperature on Peterka rest of season? We'll note as well, Buffalo does have a pretty solid playoff schedule here too. Week 22, 4 games, 2 off nights. Week 23, 4 games, 1 off night. And then the final week, 3 games, 1 off night there.
Yeah, I love Peterka. I'm really big into him this year. I tried to get him wherever I could going into the trade deadline. I was able to pick him up in one spot, which is really nice. I have him on 3 teams, and I just think this is one of those guys that is gettable for you in fantasy. He's under the radar. He's on one of the worst teams in the league, but yeah, he's playing a ton of minutes. And I think he's underachieving this year. Obviously, it's been not a stellar year there in Buffalo, as we just mentioned. His shots on goal per 60, 5-on-5, it's down by 3 whole shots. Like, that's crazy, right? Last year, he was approaching that 10 shots on goal per 60 mark that Nate likes to see, right? But now it's 6.8 this year, which is pretty bad. The shooting percentage is good, though. I just think this is a player that has a lot of runway, and especially because Buffalo's playing for nothing. What do they have to play for? They could just send Peterka out there and get this guy some minutes. My only concern was that, yeah, they did put Norris on that top line, and I thought that might affect Peterka individually, but he still played 22 minutes. So I'm not concerned at all. I would much rather see him with Tage. I think they have some really good chemistry, but they're trying things out there in Buffalo. Either way, Peterka is a stud, and I think he's really going to help your fantasy squad moving forward, especially if Buffalo can do anything on the power play. What the hell?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that probably was some of the calculus with the Norris move too, as we talked about, just providing another shooting option opposite Thompson. It felt like every time I watched the Sabres play the Leafs, you just knew like every single opportunity was just Darlene was going to try to skate and create some room, and then Thompson was going to try to crank one-timers. There's one one where they just fed him like 6 times, and he like if it didn't work, they just passed it over to the other side and then passed it right back and
Let's do it
see if
again.
he can do it again. So, yeah, just giving that extra option on that power play could make it a little bit more dangerous, and hopefully Peterka finds his way into some of those points as well. I think that, yeah, he's a really good option. Still available in some leagues, right? Like, he's only 48% rostered. So, yeah, you could probably do worse. Maybe he's a streamer level guy in some 10 teamers or something like that, but definitely a player to keep an eye on and one who's scoring some points right now. Next up, Jean-Gabriel Pageau, 2 goals, 4 assists, 6 points in his last 5. He had a big game here on Saturday. Game ongoing actually right now against Anaheim. No points there yet, but had a goal in 2 assists against San Jose. And then also had 2 games with no points. Then before that, a goal and an assist and another assist. So finds his way onto this list here. But I'm most curious about Pageau because of Brock Nelson leaving town. Pageau's been a guy who has shown the ability to get hot at certain times throughout the season. And we are looking at a New York Islanders team. If you have a bye, then he comes back in week 23 with 4 games, 3 off nights, and then follows that up with 3 games, 2 off nights. So is there something here with Jean-Gabriel Pageau? Do you think that people should be more interested in him than they currently are?
Potentially, but I don't know. This guy is a true streamer at this point. I think his value does go up because Brock Nelson's out of town, and we talked about that on Saturday's show. It's just like, yeah, who's going to step up? And I think JGP is probably the guy that's going to get a little bit of a boost there. And it's nice that he's getting some production as well. But this is not something that he does. I mean, what's his career high? 43 points, and he's pacing for 45 this year. So You could get a career high. That's lovely, JGP. But yeah, I mean, he's been in all sorts of situations. Throughout his career, he's had times where he's played, really good minutes for a team. And he's just more of a glue guy, more of a passenger, not a guy that's driving offense. He is playing with Anders Lee, who is having a really nice season. Like Anders Lee is having a good season. There's no question there, just in terms of the underlying numbers. So I don't know. The Islanders, they feel like one of these teams like Seattle, where it's just like, who am I really interested in any of these guys? I don't know. They can do stuff, but it's like trying to just throw darts at a dartboard and see who's going to pop off in the upcoming week. So that said, I'm not super interested in JGP. But bangers leagues for sure. This guy does that. He's a great hitter, blocks pretty well for a forward as well. So there's some bits and pieces. He's not getting power play one time there, so his offense is going to be capped. I don't know. What are you doing with JGP? You interested?
Yeah, in your deeper leagues, I think for sure, right? Like maybe a 14 team if you're in Kakupful, something like that. I think you can look at that route, and potentially that's an option that you want to think about. I'm not excited about it. Definitely, it's hard to get excited about anybody in the island right now, but I think it's at least within the realm of possibility that this is a guy who stays hot for a little bit here with some added ice time. We've seen it before. It usually goes away pretty quick, but it wouldn't shock me. I'll just leave it at that.
Is
All right.
anybody out there excited about JGP? If you are, hit us up in the comments. All right, give us your best Jean-Gabriel Pageau sell job. I'd love to hear that.
All right. Lastly, here, the San Jose power play, at least four members of it are really popping off right now. Will Smith, William Eklund, Macklin Celebrini, Tyler Toffoli. They are going with a 5 forward power play. Do you know who's the fifth forward on that power play right now, Blake?
Oh, you put me on the spot.
You're going to love it.
Okay. I don't know. Patrick Giles.
No, it is Alexander Wenberg.
Ooh! Oh,
Yeah,
oh my God.
Yeah, it's pretty gross, but at least these four are pretty interesting. Will Smith is one that I'm really excited about,
Yeah.
actually, especially looking ahead to next year. The problem with San Jose is that they do have a truly awful schedule. 3 games, 0 off nights this week, upcoming 2 games, 0 off nights, week 22, 3 games, 1 off night, week 23, 3 games, 0 off nights, week 24. Then if you make it all the way to week 25, then 6 games, 5 off nights. So great week 25 schedule if you can make it all the way there. But until then, it's going to be nothing but pain. But Will Smith here, over 18 minutes, 3 goals, 3 assists, 6 points in his last five, 56 shots per 60, 166 individual scoring chances, 4 per 60, second in the league in on-ice Corsi, 4 per 60, and first in on-ice scoring chances, 4 per 60.
Love it.
Will Smith, yeah, unbelievable stuff, to be quite honest with you. Obviously, he's benefiting from playing with Celebrini on the power play and at even strength. 2 goals, 4 assists, 6 points in his last five for Celebrini. Just over 19 minutes there, fifth in shots per 60, first in individual scoring chances, 4 per 60, sixth in Corsi, 4 per 60, fourth in on-ice scoring chances, 4 per 60. Macklin Celebrini is the rookie of the year. There is no debate. There should not be any debate. Anybody who's saying differently is living in another planet in my mind. And then you got Tyler Toffoli, 3 goals, 5 points there. He's eighth in shots per 60. He's third in on-ice scoring chances, 4 per 60. Eklund's here with 2 goals and 6 points in his last five as well. 19 minutes average time on ice. A little bit down from the other guys, 138th shots per 60, 149 individual scoring chances, 4 per 60, but still up there, ninth in on-ice scoring chances, 4 per 60. All these guys are popping off at the moment, and I'm really excited, honestly, about San Jose, at least for next year, if not for this year, maybe week 25, as I mentioned. But talk to me about San Jose. Talk to me about what you think for the rest of the season here and ahead to next year. Are you as excited as I am?
I am. And we had a really fun pod in the offseason when we were talking about San Jose. We're like,
Yeah.
are we actually in on the San Jose Sharks this year? And lo and behold, these guys are pretty damn exciting. Like Macklin Celebrini is pacing for 74 points. Eklund's pacing for 66. Toffoli's approaching a 60-point pace. Will Smith even, like he had a horrible start to the year. They were load managing, and now he's on a 46-point pace. So these guys are pretty damn exciting. They don't know what defense is, right? They don't even have any real defensemen on their team, right? So it is what it is. They obviously have to insulate these players, but one of the things that I love about San Jose is the way their roster is constructed in this top six. You've got two, I'm not going to say elite, but really good facilitators in William Eklund and Will Smith. And then you've got like Macklin Celebrini, who's a straight shooter. I mean, he does more than that, but he's a great shooter. And sorry, who's the other guy? What Tyler
Tyler
Toffoli? Yeah,
Toffoli.
big
Yeah.
time shooter. So yeah, that's just nice roster construction. That makes sense to me. And I like Wenberg too. He brings a lot to the table. Their top six isn't terrible.
Yeah.
But yeah, the rest of the roster's god awful. But in terms of fantasy, I don't see why this is going to be that different next season. They might get a good season out of like Askarov and net, or maybe Georgie, practices this off season. I don't know, muscles up or something. But it's not too bad. So, anyways, yeah, this is an interesting piece. I'm glad you brought up Will Smith because yeah, he's really cooking right now, and he's getting the minutes which he wasn't getting early on in the season. So I'm happy to see that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's pretty exciting if you stop and think about it. If you're a San Jose fan, then you are going to be pretty excited about what's to come here. I mean, if San Jose is not walking into free agency and throwing everything in the kitchen sink at Jacob Chikrin, I don't know what they're doing with their lives. Yeah, there's just a lot of interesting things that they could do with money if ownership will free it up to go after some big names this
Mm-hmm.
offseason. And this could be a team that's really, really interesting. I just want to highlight one more thing about Macklin Celebrini, eighth in the league in shots per 60 this year, skating almost 20 minutes a night as an 18-year-old, 80% IPP, but 10.8% shooting percentage. This is a guy who shot 18% in college in his last season. Like, we are not seeing peak Macklin Celebrini yet, and he's already looking like a seasoned pro out there. I think the sky is the limit for this kid moving forward.
He's electric out there, man. This guy's going to be an actual superstar, like a true superstar. I don't know how do you compare Celebrini's first year to Bedard's first year? Like I know that was a year ago, but
Mhm.
how are you kind of seeing those two players moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, for fantasy, I think the supporting cast is so much better in San Jose and probably gets so
Weird to
much
say.
better this offseason again
Mhm.
that I think that Celebrini is going to be a lot more consistent just by virtue of the environment. And he does feel like a guy who's able to do it himself. Like he's already one of the better two-way centers in the league. Like I was watching him against the Leafs the other night, and it's just unbelievable. Like the poise and maturity. He's muscling guys off the puck. He looks like he weighs 160 pounds sopping wet, but he's in position every single time. Yeah, I just can't say enough good things about Macklin Celebrini. And so I think he's a lot safer. Um, Bedard, maybe he's got that 50 goal upside at some point in his career that maybe Celebrini doesn't touch a lot. But I think that you're talking about two very special talents, and it'll be interesting to see which can be better for fantasy purposes. If you're constructing a team, I think you take Celebrini hands down, to be honest.
Wow, that's crazy. Who would have thought that last year?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting point and something that at least general managers are taking into account a little bit more is the ability of a guy to step in and play two ways right away. All right, let's quit with the hockey talk and talk about the Patreon. uh, you're going to want to get in here because on Monday here, after the Puzzling Players, I am going to be doing a live stream. I'm just going to review everybody's teams, as many as I can, live and get people set up for the playoffs. I think that's the best use of the time that I have there. So I'll be sending out a call to all people from the supporter tier up. The supporter tier is only $2 a month, so if you want to throw $2 in there and get yourself in there and throw your team in on the Discord when I send the call out, that would be the way to do it. Apple's tier is $8 a month, gets you the access to that Patreon only live show, also gets you access to the Patreon only Discord channels, gets you show notes for this one and the waiver wire show, and also the Apples and Genos player evaluation tool. For the True Degenerates, Geno's tier is there for you, $15 a month, all the previous perks mentioned. Plus, I will personally answer every single one of your questions, guaranteed. If you need that for your playoffs, get on in there. Blake, are you ready for some have-nots?
I'm ready, buddy. And I'm already looking past the have-nots. I want to do the would you rather. I can't wait to get to that segment. Anyways, I'm sorry. I'm downplaying the have-nots. Let's go.
Well, yeah, it's Travis Konechny's time right now. Just one assist in his last five, 21:43 average time on ice, so that's still there. But the shots have fallen off, 234th in shots per 60, 351st in individual scoring chances, 4 per 60, 191st Corsi 4 per 60, 276th in on ice scoring chances, 4 per 60. He's still on a 28 goal, 81 point pace. have to wonder if he's just feeling the weight of trying to carry this team the entire season. He was kind of the only thing going for much of the season. We called him sell high for a lot of the season. It just kind of feels like the regression is coming home for him,
Mhm.
and maybe the incredible amount of minutes that he's been skating all year are coming to home to roost at this point in the season as well. What do you think about Konechny, and what would you be doing with him rest of the season? I don't think you're dropping Travis Konechny unless this continues for a long time here, but it is go time. Are you thinking about it this week if you have to?
No, I'm definitely not dropping him this week, but I mean, yeah, this happened last year with the Flyers too. They sort of just limped over the finish line. They had a really good year. They overachieved massively in a lot of things and then just kind of fell apart. And yeah, Travis Konechny is really the only safe fantasy hockey option on the team. And like you said, he's carrying the team. I was just digging in. Like this guy's IPP at 5-on-5, 93%, almost 94%. That's ludicrous. That's in 65 games. So if he's not doing it, nobody's doing it. And like that's really the problem there. And he's playing right now with Ryan Poling and Oli Blakesell. Who the hell is that? I don't know who that is, Torts. What are you doing? What the frick? So yeah, I do. This is one of those things, though. It's like a Stamkos thing. I think there's acumen with this player. We know what he's capable of doing. He's underachieving now, whereas he likely overachieved all year. So I think it'll normalize at some point. But yeah, this is one of those guys that if you're about to lose your match or and he's not doing anything, like yeah, you could absolutely drop Travis Konechny. I wouldn't be doing that at this point. It'd have to be a little bit more dire for me to start thinking about that, but I think it's on the table.
Yeah. I I tend to agree. I'm not trying to drop him. The deployment's still there. Like just with the massive amount of time on ice, you feel like he can walk into a few points here or there. It is a 3-game 0 off night week this week for Philadelphia, but the first week of a lot of people's playoffs, week 22, it's 4 games 2 off nights, so that's not too bad. After that, it does get bad though. Week 23, 3 games 0 off nights. Week 24, 2 games 1 off night.
Yep.
So it does get progressively worse. So maybe we revisit this conversation in week 23, week 24. But yeah, it's still a little early for me, just given the body of work. I feel like we know what Travis Konechny is at this point. And yeah, it's a cold stretch, but you do expect him to rebound unless we get word of some underlying injury. Next up, Andrei Svechnikov. And Svechnikov is having a rough go, to say the least. It's been a weird year for sure, but he has no points in his last 5 now. Just over 16 minutes. Rod is going to rod the same way. Torts is going to tort. 219th in shots per 60, 92nd individual scoring chances, 4 per 60, 104 Corsi, 4 per 60, 107 on ice scoring chances, 4 per 60, 23 goal, 56 point pace for Svech this year. Yeah, it's just rough across the board. I mean, he was playing with Aho and Stankoven at even strength, and he was on the top power play, so that's good. But Rod doing Rod things, he played Aho, Svechnikov, Stankoven 629 at even strength, and he played Hall, Kakanyemi, Blake 1019, and he played Stahl, Martinuk, Jarvis 1051. So yeah, just giving up minutes all over the place is Andrei Svechnikov. So what do we do with Svechnikov here? Like how patient can we really be? It's been a whole year of Svechnikov not really producing. It's been a whole year of Brindamore just moving guys around and farting in our faces, to use your
I
colloquialism.
say toot. All right.
Okay,
Fart. I tell my daughter not to
that's a
say
bit
that, Nate.
aggressive.
All right. Yeah, it
Yeah.
is a little aggressive, but that's fine.
Okay. Tooting in our faces, Rod Brindamore. Um, just smells like protein powder, but
And
Carolina.
shame. Protein powder and shame.
Carolina, 3 games played, 1 off night. This week, 3 games played, 1 off night. The following week, how long can we hang on to Andrei Svechnikov when he's going through slumps like this?
Yeah, to me, it's interesting because we just talked about Travis Konechny, who I'd be more inclined to hold through some pain because of his deployment. But Svechnikov he hasn't had the deployment all year, and I feel like I would drop Svechnikov before I would drop Travis Konechny. And it's frustrating because this is a player that does so many things really well, but there must be something to it, or why he doesn't get the minutes there in Carolina. And the only thing I can think of is that he takes bad penalties. Like he took one here today, like a high stick or something, took him off the power play. It's just I think the coach can't really trust him when he's out there to do the right thing all the time or most of the time. And it's really coming home to roost, to use your colloquialism. Is that the right word there? I don't think I've ever said that word in my life. I'm going to have to Google that after the show. But yeah, he's doing everything right in terms of the underlying metrics. And for fantasy, this looks really good under the hood. But 56-point pace, that stinks. His shooting percentage going to be one of the lowest of his career. I think third lowest of his career. The shots are down. Power play hasn't been great. It's just a frustrating year. And I think I have a little bit less patience with Andrei Svechnikov than I do with a player like Travis Konechny. So that said, I have him on one team. I'm not looking to get off him at this point, but I need to see some minutes, right? Like, and just a little bit of swagger in his play. There's nothing there. It feels like he's had these kind of streaks, peppered throughout the season.
Yeah. So let's throw some would you rather's at you. And since you were so excited to get to the would you rather segment, I've got a league where Carter Verhaeghe just hit the wire and Steven Stamkos is out there, waivers, but is available. Are you sending in a claim for these guys dropping Svechnikov if that's where you're at with how your schedule works? You gotta still game the system here, but if you're looking at it and this is the move to make, Svechnikov is the guy to drop, and you need a win this week for Haggy or Stamkos or Svechnikov. Who would you rather?
For this upcoming week?
For the rest of the season, like you still got to make the playoffs, or you've got a reason to play this week. Let's put it that way, and then you got to finish out the year. What are you doing?
Oh God, that's a tough one. So it's Verhaeghe, it's Svechnikov, and it's Stamkos. I think I'd go Stamkos there, just due to the schedule. I think that's a little bit better. Plus, his deployment is reasonable. He's cooking right now, whereas Svech is the opposite. I'd probably go Stamkos, Verhaeghe, Svechnikov. And I like Verhaeghe a lot, but obviously they're doing crazy things over there. And then if Brad Marchand does come back, does that push Verhaeghe even lower? I will say that Carter Verhaeghe had a better game deployment-wise last game. So I still feel good about that. But yeah, Svech is just pissing me off. Mostly because he should be crushing. This should be a perennial 70-point guy with massive periffs, which he does have, but I've yet to see it. And I feel like we've been saying this for years. So anyways, give me Stamkos there. And who are you taking?
Yeah, I think Stamkos is the number one for the reasons you mentioned. I think it's a conversation between Verhaeghe and Svechnikov. That's much harder to parse for me, but I don't mind taking Verhaeghe there. 5 shots in each of his last 2 games. At least he's doing that, so don't mind that. Next up, Elias Pettersson. He's been a fixture on this segment for sure. Just 1 goal in his last 5 games, 18 and a half minutes average time on ice, but he does have some good interviews from time to time. Talk to me about your guy, Pettersson, Blake. Tell me why we should get more excited about him rest of the season.
For those that don't know, Nate's chirping me right now. Okay. and I'm here for it. Pettersson has been playing so bad. I remember I texted Nate. I'm like, well, he had a great interview. Like he owned up to his, bad play. And he's like, all right, well, I'm glad he had a good interview, buddy. It's like, yeah, son of a gun, you smarmy, Nate. All right. But it was a good interview. And he's played better since then. So, it's something that's not quantifiable, but I feel like I try and have a pulse on what's going on in terms of a player's mental state. And there has been a little bit of a switch with Elias Pettersson. And I think that means something. Granted, I'm just a guy in my basement, but I really feel like he looks different out there. He's speaking differently to the media. Kiefer Sherwood said something like, "Oh, Petey's juking and jiving out there." He literally did it one shift. He did like a head fake a guy. I'm like, okay, I guess we'll take that. And he finally scored a beautiful one-timer from the flank position on the power play, which I don't think I've seen him do. I can't even remember the last time I saw him do that. So I don't know. I don't know where I'm at with Pettersson. I think the Canucks have a great playoff schedule. So, you're rolling with Pettersson to the end. I think he's the last man standing here. I think that he's turned a corner and he's going to play some better puck here moving forward. But just the 1 point in the last 5 games, it might even be worse than that. Yeah, like 1 point in 6 games. Good God. He's out there. He's going to be out there and he's playing better. This is not the player that Pettersson is. And I will say this, I'll go on record. He's going to be a value next year, a massive value. This is not a guy that is a 50-point player. There's something going on here. I'm interested to see what happens in the offseason, just in terms of the reports we get or if anything comes out about injuries. But Yeah, it's not a 50-point player. He's not a 100-point player. Okay, I think we've established that now. But I do think this is a 70 to 80 to 85-point player, and he should be that perennially. And with Miller out of town, hopefully, his mentals kind of stay up, and we'll see what happens. Canucks, they're still in the playoff hunt. I can't even believe that because, like you were saying, you watched Colorado and Leafs the other day, and just watching Colorado, it's like, okay, that like Canucks aren't even in the same planet, right? Like they're not even playing the same game. Canucks are basically like the Colorado farm team. It doesn't make any sense. So, I mean, if they do make the playoffs, they're not doing anything in there. But I don't know. I still like the player. I have faith in the player, and he's going to be a value in drafts next season.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. Maybe it comes out this offseason what exactly he was dealing with this year, and so people give him a bit more of a pass, and his value isn't as good. But I do think he'll still be a value in drafts next year. He's not been a value the last couple of years in my mind.
Yep.
He's gone higher than I've been willing to pony up for him. So there is that. I saw that Vancouver scored while you were talking about him, Blake. So I was double checked quickly, but it's Derek Forbert from Vittorio Mancini. So
I watch
Elias
the team all the
Pettersson's
time.
still
I don't
looking
know who
for
those players are. That's fine. Yeah, that's good. Good job, guys. I love that.
Yeah, so I don't think this is the week to drop Pettersson. 4 games played, 2 off nights. You're holding them through this week. If we're coming into week 22 and you're in your playoffs and you got to win, and it's 3 games, 0 off nights for Pettersson, and he's not playing for you on some heavy nights, that's when I think we start to have a real conversation about dropping Pettersson. Next up, Elias Lindholm on Boston.
Boston.
He's been a nothing for much of the season. It's a 14 goal, 40-point pace for him on the season. Just 1 assist in his last 5. But 81st shots per 60, 34th individual scoring chances 4 per 60, in the 151st range on Corsi 4 per 60, 194 on ice scoring chances 4 per 60. That's not so hot. But yeah, with Brad Marchand out of town, it does kind of feel like Elias Lindholm is at least going to get some run on the power play units here. But that being said, Casey Middlestat comes to town and he goes to power play 1. I don't know if they're really going to do that. Maybe they're just so far gone in terms of packing in on the season that they're just going to see what they have in Middlestat, and they'll just run Pasternak, Zaka, Geeky as the first line. They'll run them
Yep.
out there on the power play and throw Middlestat there. But that's kind of the conversation I want to have with you, Blake, is do we think that Lindholm benefits from Marchand being gone, or do we think that there's nothing to see here? Keep him on the waiver wire. Don't even think about picking him up.
I don't think he benefit at all. I think that he's going to have a net negative. He just lost his winger, right? A winger that does stuff out there. And I'm digging in real quick on Elias Lindholm here in terms of micro stats. And this is one of the worst player profiles I've ever seen. And it shows that way out on the ice. He's in the bottom percentile in anything offensive, right? He's not generating obviously anything individually, but he's also not facilitating shots or chances for his teammates. So what is he doing out there? It's crazy. I remember the player when he played with the Canucks. Obviously, it wasn't good in the regular season, but he was playing through injury, and he did play amazing in the playoffs for the Vancouver Canucks. He was great. He was one of the Canucks' best players. He's a two-way center. He can do stuff on the power play. That's really the only thing he's done this year. That's he has 12 power play points. That's where he's looking at all dangerous. And if he's not getting power play 1, get the hell off my squad. No, I have no real faith this year in Elias Lindholm. I think this is going to be a painful contract for the Bruins if they don't find him some line mates, right? That work with him and his strengths and his weaknesses, right? And he's a two-way guy. Granted, like I said, I think what I'm seeing here this year with him in terms of his just player profile, it's a down year, no question. He's playing like crap. So I think that it's not as bad as it looks here, but I don't think the ceiling is even close to what it was when he was with the Canucks, and certainly not what he had when he was with the Flames, where he got 82 points in 82 games. That's a pipe dream.
Yeah. Yeah, I tend to agree. It was just interesting to see. And I think there are probably some people who might be looking at some of the underlying stats because of what we do here, and they might be saying, 32nd, what did I say? 32nd in the last 5 games, 34, sorry, in individual scoring chances, 4 per 60. Marchand out of the way, maybe there's something here, but yeah, I think there's a real chance that they just decide to see what Middleside can do on that top power play for the rest of the season here and just see what they have there. I mean, Elias Lindholm is playing on an even strength line with Jakub Lauko and Murat Kunisnadinov in the last game, and I can't get behind that. So nothing to see here with Elias
Ugly.
Lindholm. Let's move along. John Carlson and Jacob Chikrin are the last pair that I want to bring up in the have-nots. Now, of course, after I put this together, the John Carlson had a couple of assists, and Jacob Chikrin scored a point as well in the game here today. Now, John Carlson, close to 24 minutes average time on ice, and Jacob Chikrin a little bit under 21. 45th in shots per 60 for Carlson, 34th for Chikrin, 16th in individual scoring chances, 4 per 60 for Chikrin, 69th in individual scoring chances, 4 per 60 for Carlson, which is nice, I guess. The big difference is the on ice numbers. Even with the power play there for Carlson, he's at 86th in Corsi 4 per 60 and 76th in on ice scoring chances 4 per 60, whereas Chikrin is at second in Corsi 4 per 60 and 8th in on ice scoring chances 4 per 60. Now, in this game here today, they did run some weird stuff. I think it was just that they had some weird power play units. Like they ran out basically the second unit, the Mangiapane, Radish, McMichael unit. That was the unit that got the ice time, and Chikrin was with that. So I think it was just
Could
a
have been
one
after a
off.
shift or something.
Yeah, probably after a shift for the top line or something like that. But anyway, probably nothing to see here. But Chikrin did get more power play minutes in this particular game. But basically, I want to ask you, Blake, how do you see these guys going forward? Is there anything to see here? Like, even if these guys go cold, we're not thinking about dropping them, are we?
No, definitely not. I'm not interested in dropping either of these players. If I had to drop one, it would be John Carlson. Weirdly, but I wouldn't. I mean, like these guys are good to go. I mean, it's Washington has had an amazing year. These guys are a big part of it, and I think they're a very deep team, and they don't just have one way to score, right?
Mm.
Whereas I think going to the back end, well, you got a great shooter in Chikrin. John Carlson's an amazing facilitator. Obviously, massive chemistry with Alexander Ovechkin. But we saw last year, it was so predictable what they were doing. There was really only Carlson and Ovechkin on the power play, especially doing stuff. Whereas now they have so many weapons. That second line is playing amazing. PLD, Connor McMichael is popping off right now, which is really nice to see. Protas is going nuts. So I just think they have a lot of ways to score, and it's probably just kind of shifting away from John Carlson and Jacob Chikrin right now. But yeah, a 54-point pace for John Carlson. If you get that at the end of the year, it's John Carlson. You're loving that, right? Because this guy was a major value in draft season. I think he was available from pick 90 to 110, maybe later. And then Jacob Chikrin, when the hell did we pick him up? It was
Yeah.
later than that. So, and he's on a 57-point pace, including 18 goals. It's great stuff. I'm not thinking of dropping these guys at all. Washington has a great playoff schedule. It's the aces up, wheels up for these boys. Just weather the storm, and I think they'll reward you for that.
Yeah. Yeah. The only other thing to note here, Washington, not a great schedule rest of the way here. 3 games, 0 off nights this upcoming week. 3 games, 0 off nights the week after that. 3 games, 1 off night the week after that. If you make it to week 24, it's 4 games, 3 off
Oh,
nights.
maybe that's what I
So,
was thinking. I knew they had a
um,
4-4 in there.
yeah, so they've got a good schedule in week 24, but until then, it's not so hot. So, yeah, we'll see how long it goes. Hopefully, today was a step in the right direction for these guys, but I don't think at this point we're close to thinking about dropping them, even if things continue to be on the colder side of the bed. The pillow? What are the colder side of what?
All that works. The cooler than the other side of the pillow. That's Nate Grudniblik over here. He's cool as a cucumber, folks.
Yeah, very cool under pressure, as evidenced by my word
Absolutely.
salad there. All right, well, if we didn't talk about a player that you wanted to hear about, make sure you join me for the Monday 8 p.m. EST live stream where I talk about all the most puzzling players league wide as submitted by the Apples and Genos Discord server. Get your
Let's go.
buns in there and wait for the notification and then submit your player. And I will be talking about a bunch of them at 8 p.m. EST live on YouTube tomorrow, Monday. All right, Blake, your favorite segment. Would you
Woo-wee.
rather? All right, you did this one, so I'm going to sit back. You ask me, and I will endeavor to make some good decisions for the good people listening.
Don't boss me, Nate. All right. I'm going to do it because I want to. All right. Here we
Okay.
go. All right. Well, let's start at the center position. I combed through the rosters here and I tried to find players that were comparable that have been doing well lately and have similar rostership. So that's sort of what I used here with these Would You Rathers. So we'll start at center. I got Ryan O'Reilly, Braden Shen, and Ryan Donato. Who's your Huckleberry, Nate?
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, I don't see how you go away from Donato. The playoff schedule's there. He's on fire. Yeah, I don't see how you don't pick Donato at the moment. I will say O'Reilly doesn't look too bad. If you go under the hood on O'Reilly and what he's done, even the last, like, I don't know, 10, 20 games, it looks pretty good. So yeah, Ryan O'Reilly's a pretty interesting option for me, and especially considering that schedule across the playoffs, 17th in individual scoring chances, 4 per 60 over the last 5 games. He's got 6 points, 19 plus minutes a night. Stuff is happening for Ryan O'Reilly as well. Yeah, maybe that's tempting me even a little bit over Donato. That's really tough,
Yeah, that's
actually.
why I thought because I know
Yeah,
O'Reilly's kind of popping here lately.
Poppin and has a good playoff schedule as well. I guess if you need the off nights, go Donato. If you need the extra game played, maybe go O'Reilly. Maybe that's how you make the decision there. Brain Shen, distant third for me. I'm not that interested. Feels like St. Louis will probably fade here and they won't have a lot to play for. That's my take there.
All right, that's fine. I think for me, yeah, Ryan Donato's my guy. I'm gonna roll with him. I don't trust Ryan O'Reilly, even though he's playing well. Great schedule. Chicago has a good schedule too, and I like the prioritization of Donato. So I'd go Donato, ROR, and Shen. Book it. Let's move over to left wingers. We got some more St. Louis because why not? I got Dylan Holloway here. You son of a. Sorry, Dylan Holloway, Will Cooley. All right, and Connor McMichael of the Washington Capitals. Who you picking?
Yeah, this is an interesting one as well because obviously you've got some different things going on. Cooley playing with Miller and Zibanejad at even strength, so he's getting some nice deployment. Obviously, an absolute hits monster.
Yep.
Holloway getting more minutes, 18 and a half minutes average time on ice for Holloway over the last little bit. And then McMichael's got 5 points in his last 5 games, so I can't leave him out of any of these conversations. I think at the moment I'll take the extra minutes with Holloway because I do think him and McMichael are pretty comparable. You know, kind of line two power play two guys at the moment, both of them. The schedule doesn't really convert me one way or the other between the two. A few more off nights with McMichael, but you have to get the week 24 for that to matter for you too. So I think give me Holloway, then McMichael, and then Cooley is a second or a third there. Yeah, if it's a bangers cats and you need hits, maybe we're having a little bit of a different conversation. But the
Yep.
Rangers also have a pretty terrible schedule upcoming, so I'm not into that either.
Love it, buddy. Yeah, no, I'd have to agree. I can't argue with anything he said there. I'm taking Dylan for the win. All right. Let's move over to right wingers. We got that drywall smashing Kyle Palmieri. He's doing that. He's chugging monsters. Kyle Palmieri, Fabian Zetterlund with Ottawa now, and then Alex Laferriere with the Kings. Who are you taking at right wing?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. Yeah, it's weird, right? Because Laferriere has been getting run on the top power play. I famously picked him in the head-to-head streamer deathmatch, and he went
Oh, you did? Oh, my God.
deathly silent. I'm just checking to see if they've done anything in the game here tonight. They haven't had a power play in the game here tonight. Playing with Fiala and Byfield at even strength, which is obviously not a bad spot to be. Over 18 minutes, like everything should be happening for Laferriere right now, but it's really not. His underlying metrics are not great, like just around average, maybe a little bit below average as well. Palmieri is probably the hottest right now, but he just lost his longtime center in Brock Nelson, so that really does hurt. I'm curious, actually. I haven't looked to see what they've done with power play there either. Yeah, it looks like they're still trying to split things up a little bit here. Pajot's on what looks like a second unit. Yeah, I don't know. It's gross, no matter which way which way you slice it. I think I might just take the mystery box with Fabian Zetterlund here and hope he ends up on like a top line somewhere and kind of goes nuts and has a he kind of feels like the high energy kind of guy who would love being in a playoff race like this.
Yep.
That's totally like conjecture and not based on anything real. But I do think that this is the kind of guy who might get into it here. Yeah, give me Zetterlund, then I'll go Palmieri, and then I'm putting Laferriere third just for his personal affront to me.
Get out of my head, buddy. All right. I would love to disagree with you because it makes for good podcasting, but damn, you're bang on. All right. That's how I do it too. Fabian Zetterlund's fun. I love that. Mystery box. There you go. All right. Let's move on to defensemen. We got the professor, Mike Matheson, Jared Spurgeon, and Jake Wallman. Talk to me about these players. Who you taking? I wanted to get some power play two guys, some big minute guys, but maybe aren't in offensive positions.
Yeah, I think that's interesting, and especially because actually Spurgeon is so much less rostered than the other guys,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like Matheson's at 74%, Wallman's at 64%, and then Spurgeon's there at 14%. But you kind of look at their roles, and they're not actually all that dissimilar. Yeah, it's an interesting question. Wallman has. Did you see Wallman's hit on Rantanen, by the
Yeah,
way?
it was awesome. Yeah,
Yeah,
what a legend. Just shows up game one. He's like, yeah, I'll take care of your best player. No problem. Really nice
right.
hit, too.
Yeah, it was a really nice hit. He made sure to basically turn completely around so he wouldn't hit in the head, do anything untoward in that regard. But yeah, playing with Darnell Nurse at even strength, and that's all right. He played 24 minutes, 24:40 in this game against Dallas. Had an assist, 3 shots, 2 hits, 3 blocks, active. Maybe it's not the end of the road for Jake Wallman, even without top power play there. Mike Matheson, I think, is also a guy who's just going to be around it. Montreal has a not too bad schedule, especially if you can get to week 23. They play 11 games with 3 off nights through from weeks 22 through 24 and 13 and 6 if you're 23 through 25. So pretty solid scheduling there. And definitely better than Edmonton, which is 9 and 1 and 12 and 6, 22 through 24 and 23 through 25. So yeah, it might depend a little bit on your schedule there, who you might take. I'm kind of feeling Wallman,
Yeah.
just based. I know it's kind of bad process to base it all off one first impression that looks pretty good because Edmonton had a good game here and he got a lot of minutes. But man, if he's gonna get 24 minutes a night feeding pucks up to Draisaitl and McDavid, like that's gonna feel pretty good. It might not even be that big a drop off from San Jose, even if he's not on the top power play. I'm kind of talking myself into it a little bit, even with the bad schedule. Yeah, give me Wallman, then Matheson, and then Spurgeon.
Bang. Yeah, this ain't the San Jose Sharks, buddy. I think Wallman, yeah, it should be a net positive, but keep in mind too, and you know this, but Matthias Ekholm missed that game as well with an illness. So I want to see what happens when Ekholm's in the lineup because he's a minute
Sure.
muncher as well. So I'd probably go Matheson, Wallman, Spurgeon for that reason. I just love Mike Matheson. If he had power play one, he'd be a 60-point guy, but he's taken one for the team. Lane Hudson's going ham. And yeah, these guys all have good schedules. I think they're all valuable, but I think Matheson has maybe the highest ceiling, and he's projected for the lowest amount of points of the three. So there you go.
All
That's it.
right.
That's it. Let's go to goalies. All right, Nate's favorite position. He's not in the business of projecting goalies, but we're gonna try anyway. Okay. So, would you rather, Nate, Kevin Lankinen of the Vancouver Canucks, Linus Ullmark, or UC Saros? And I had a question recently about UC Saros being dropped and what we should do with him. So I thought I'd throw him out there because obviously Nashville's been so terrible, and he might be an option out there on your waivers.
Yeah, I have seen Saros dropped. It's not totally crazy. In a lot of points formats where volume ends up being king, like Saros is probably still going to get all those starts in is not it as the backup. But that being said, like Ottawa's in it, so like Allmark is going to get all the starts for Ottawa as
Yep.
well. Yeah, that's a pretty good spot. If you've got to buy week 22 where Ottawa plays 3 games, 0 off nights, and you can get 4 games played this week 21, 4 games played potentially week 23 and 24,
Mm-hmm.
Allmark might be the guy just on that basis alone. I do think it's close to a toss up. I'm going to give it an edge to Allmark here. Um, But yeah, I think it's definitely up for debate. And then I would put Lankin in third, and that's really just because I don't feel good about Vancouver at the moment. Um, yeah, Quinn Hughes being out, potentially missing more time, or even being shut down in worst case scenario, feels like Vancouver might just totally pack it in at that point. And even if he gets every start, you wonder what the ceiling is. So, final answer: Allmark, then Saros, then Lankinen.
Bang. No, I love that. I think that's the way I'd roll too. And it kills me because I think Lankinen absolutely can hang with these two guys. It's just, yeah, the Canucks are one of the worst offensive teams in the league. So it doesn't matter how well Lankinen plays. The Canucks are a great defensive team. But yeah, he's going to get no home run support there. So yeah, I agree with you there. Buddy, that's it. Would you rather? That's nice stuff right there.
All right. Then let's move over under the hood. Matvey Michkov is the target here today. We understand that Torts is going to tort, but I mean, I'm my theoretical world. Let me paint you a theoretical scenario where John Tortorella is not the coach of the Philadelphia Flyers in 2025-26, and Matvey Michkov is turned loose to the tune of 20 minutes a night. I think we could all get a little bit excited. We could be forgiven for tenting up a little bit over that potential scenario. Last 10 games for Mishkov prior to this last game, actually. So I pulled these stats before that, but 6 goals, 7 assists, 17:02 average time on ice. Second in shots per 60, seventh individual scoring chances 4 per 60, 58th Corsi 4 per 60, 30th on ice scoring chances 4 per 60. If you go back and look at the prospect profile, like his comparables were all of the all-time greats. This is a guy who compares to Kaprizov in the KHL, outscored Kaprizov in similar age seasons in the KHL. Like, this is the profile that you're talking about as a potential like 100 plus point player in the NHL. And all it's really going to take is for a coach to send him out there for 20 plus minutes a night and let him
Yep.
live on top power play for 4 plus minutes a night. So that's that's kind of the wish casting that I'm doing right here. You know, if Jared Bednar was his coach in 2025-26, like I'd project him for 90 plus points just on that basis alone. Yeah, I don't know if you feel similarly, but I do believe I'm going to have a massive projection on Mishkov next year. Want to highlight it here. He's really turned it on late in the season. I love to see that out of rookies. A lot of rookies who don't go on. This is anecdotal, but a lot of rookies that I've seen that don't go on to have great sophomore seasons, they start to fade a little bit towards the back end of the rookie season, and then the next season again they find it hard to get on track, and just kind of caps the ceiling for me from points perspective. I love to see Michkov coming into his own. Um, Coaching decisions notwithstanding, I think Michkov is absolutely an all-world talent, and as soon as next year we could see that 90 plus point upside. What do you think about Michkov, Blake? Am I getting a little too gung ho about Michkov's potential?
I want to go back to that tenting up comment. I'm not sure what that meant. You mean like going camping? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I love camping. You know this about me.
Yeah, no, he does that. He just goes out into the bush. He is master of bushcraft. All right. It's he have you ever made one of those like homemade saunas? You know what I mean? You like put the rocks in the fire and then you'd like get a tent over top and you put the water on the rocks and then you steam yourself up. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Oh God, I'm sorry about this. I literally don't go outside. My skin is like as white as it's basically translucent. I haven't had vitamin D in a long time. Vitamin D, anyways. Evan Mishkov's a stud. I'm excited. I think, yeah, it's just the torch thing. We talked about it, and it's coming true. But you know, it is what it is. This guy's a stud. I can't wait to see him next year.
All right, last order of business, the head-to-head streamer deathmatch, and Blake. It does appear. I mean, there's I guess some time left in this game here between Anaheim and who are they even playing? I don't even know who they're playing. That's how
Long
invested I am
Island, Long
in this.
Island.
Oh yes, they're playing the Islanders. There is some time left in this game, but yeah, my Troy Terry scored 8 points in the first 3 games, and I don't think he's done much of anything in this game so far through 2 periods. Whereas Ryan Donato absolutely popped off once again, 22.75 points in his 4 games. So Blake is up to 14-6 on the season. What do you have to say for yourself, Blake?
Yeah, I'm just happy to be here, man. All right. I'm just having a good time. This is good, clean fun with two friends, two brothers in fantasy. All right. We do that and I feel good about that. But I am really looking forward to that concession speech. I hope you've been writing with Nate. Okay, because I know you're a wordsmith. All right, you're like a human thesaurus. I'm really interested in learning, just some new words based on the speech, and I'm excited about that. So is that coming anytime soon, Nate, or what do you think?
We'll see what the results of the expert league playoffs are, and then we'll
Oh,
talk
damn.
about
Okay.
who's
All
making
right.
concession speeches.
Oh man, he just had to just tooting right in my face. Just ate my sandwich. Oh god, that's fine.
All right, we got to make some decisions for the upcoming week here, Blake. So for myself, yeah, just seeing what Colorado is right now, I'm gonna go with Jonathan Drouin, under 25% rostered on Yahoo, so he fits that bill. Yeah, the points upside, it's Drouin, so he might go quiet for a week. That wouldn't be the most shocking thing, but he also might pop off for 7 points. So I'm going Jonathan Drouin. Who are you gonna take?
Yep, great pick. I'm taking Fabian Zetterlund. I'm taking the
Ooh,
mystery box.
all
All
right.
right, that's his nickname, the mystery box, Fabian Zetterlund, and yeah, I feel actually pretty slick with myself here. The guy was he was day to day, or he was showing out on Yahoo, and I was able to just pick him up for free and put him into my IR plus. So now I got him, and I've got some time to make decisions there. Anyways, Fabian Zetterlund, an absolute unit, and we're going to 15-6, folks. I'm sorry to say, Nathaniel.
All right. Well, if you made it this far and you stayed through all of that, you should probably click the link in the description and join the Discord community, especially to get your puzzling players in for the 8 p.m. EST live stream Monday right here on the Apples and Junos YouTube channel. Like, rate, review, subscribe, whatever you can do does help us out. That's all that we've got for this episode, though. Hopefully, it brought you some value, helped you get a little bit better at fantasy hockey today. All the advanced stats you heard today came from Natural Stat Trick, terrific free resource. Many thanks to the band there for supplying the music for the podcast. Be sure to check out their Spotify as well. That's it, folks. Much love.